Will not race here this weekend, and he will not race next weekend in China either.
He's ahead of Sete Gibernau, he's ahead of Carlos Checa, but Valentino Rossi will be starting from the front of the second row in 4th position. Barros has been quickest in every single session. If anybody deserves to win a race, it's Alex, but Sete Gibernau has got other ideas, and so has Rossi, because Barros is being swallowed. It's going to be Carlos Checa, it's going to be Sete Gibernau who leads into the first corner. Gibernau's got the advantage, and as the others battle, it can only be good for Gibernau as Rossi goes second.
And that is our Repsol next along. Who is it? Is it Max?
Yes, it is, in 3rd position, who's managed to barge ahead of Marco Melandri. Checa's going backwards, and so is Rossi, who goes wide. Gibernau leads, he's keeping cool, he's keeping calm, but Max is right there.
Check.
Randy, we can hear you.
Okay.
Meanwhile, they come onto the back straight. Look at the advantage that Sete Gibernau has got as he comes onto the back straight, and Shaky Byrne's out already. Shaky Byrne has got a problem with the KTM. It lasted only a handful of laps last week, and it's gone pop already.
He must have come in after the warm-up lap. That was pit lane, that picture.
Right then, onto the back section. Out of the back section we go. Already there's a split. Leading is Gibernau by about 20 bike lengths. Rossi is up and there into 2nd position, tipping it into the right-hander. But Max Biaggi's going to have a look. And if anybody's going to pass Rossi, it's going to be Max.
Yeah, he meant that, didn't he? And
Barros.
Barros goes through as well. 2 Hondas push past Valentino Rossi. The big question is Sete's endurance with that shoulder injury. He was certainly, I'm not being rude, but he was laying it on with a trowel at the Saturday night press conference, saying he really was in problems. We shall see. And look, Marco Melandri's there, right behind Valentino Rossi.
Sete Gibernau. If you've got an injured shoulder, that's a pretty healthy first lap, to say the least. He did joke last night and say, well, it'll be about 5 or 6 laps and then I'd like to see the flag. But goodness me, what a rocket missile start for Sete Gibernau. The Spanish fans in front of us are cheering him on. Where are the rest?
Colin Edwards in 6th. How far back of Melandri? Not far.
Barros goes second. Barros barges through up into 2nd ahead of Max Biaggi. And Barros now back at the Cito Pons stable. He really does like it there. He likes the warm fuzzy feeling he gets from there. And hey, does it produce results or what?
Marco, I beg your pardon, under Rossi and then straight back behind him again.
It's very, very close. Listen, I'm going to be standing here right now that the race has gone off. The bikes now are being changed, the tires that are sitting in the pit lane. That's because had the warm-up lap they come around and had a problem, they least needed these bikes to have slick tires. Now all the mechanics, if the camera can get a shot of this, all of the bikes are being changed now to rain tires. I will let you know as soon as I know when they start putting the tires in the bikes, Toby.
Yes, Randy's trying to say you can change bikes before the end of the first lap. Maybe Shaky's left on the 2nd machine. I have to correct myself. No, he hasn't. He's still in the pits.
He's still there. I'm going to go get a word with him.
Now, Alex Barros pushed brutally past Max Biaggi and has already shrunk the gap a little bit between himself and the leader. We're looking at Valentino Rossi, running now in 4th place.
Colin Edwards chasing hard behind Valentino. He's behind Marco Melandri, in fact, and Edwards has got a real move on. Look at Barros. Has he got a stomp on or what? Dear, oh dear.
Means it this weekend, Alex, doesn't he?
Absolutely. The guy who has been quickest. Friday morning, Friday afternoon. Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon. This morning in the wet. And now has had to salvage something in these last couple of laps to try and catch Sete Gibernau.
And he was a 1/4 of a second quicker than Gibernau that time round, was Alex Barros.
There's Nicky Hayden. Oh, and he's passing Carlos Checa. Checa is in now 9th position from a front row start. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear.
Well, Alex really is pressing on, and Rossi stuck behind Max Biaggi. There, now this is what Randy was talking about, the 2nd bikes being prepared in case it rains. A white flag will go out, or marshal post, if it is deemed to be the rain is significant, and riders will then be able to change to their other bikes. We'll talk more about that if the conditions bring it on.
Well, you know, the conditions, if they're going to change, no matter what, these bikes have to have a different set of tires on them. So all of them that had slicks, just in case their bikes had problems for that warm-up lap, are now all being changed to rain conditions.
We're on board with Max Biaggi. He may have started way down the order last weekend, but he's got it all sorted now. Sorry, we're looking ahead to Max Biaggi from Valentino's bike. Valentino, he had his tiff with Sete last week. Is this week going to be Max time again?
Just like old times, won't
Exactly.
it? Yes. Friends reunited, as a cartoonist put it last year in Malaysia. And Biaggi on his second bike. Oh, dear me, that's getting a bit brutal. That's Colin Edwards going past Marco Melandri.
Absolutely. The number 5 Yamaha putting it underneath the number 33 Honda. This is the battle for 5th position as they stream onto the home straight once more. Gibernau's advantage, still 1.5 seconds, 1.7 seconds, 1.9 seconds for Gibernau. What a rocket start.
Rossi up the inside of Biaggi at turn 1. Max doesn't give it to him, does he? And tries to cut back inside, but I think Valentino's got that covered.
Okay, Tubby, just an update on Shaky Byrne. He's back out there. His bike would not rev for some reason. They brought it in, just adjusted it. Now he's gone back out with the same bike. He did have a cut slick on the front end of that thing, just in case something were to come down in terms of the rain side of things, which might have been a smart move when you're that far back in the grid. You don't have anything to worry about. You don't have to come in and change bikes because you've already got a couple cuts in the front tire. But he is back out there. This is testing for them.
And also, as you say, it's a hell of a punt. It might be a long kick between the posts, but it might just go through.
You never know, do you?
If it rains.
Now then, Rossi up to 3rd place. Barros did a 39.3 last time round, but Sete Gibernau did a 38.9. There he is, bottom of your picture, number 15. Barros chasing him. Rossi next along. And I have to say, second bike or not, that's more like the old Max Biaggi there in 4th place, the real Max Biaggi.
Yes, at least he could see the lights on the grid here this weekend rather than using binoculars. He was so deep last weekend. Gibernau looks as if he's getting caught by Alex Barros. There you see the battle for 5th, 6th and 7th position. That's Edwards, Melandri and Hopkins.
Yeah, this Bridgestone shot Suzuki rider who we didn't mention much. And our build-up looking very good there on the tail of Marco Melandri. We know the Bridgestones work here. Tamada last year, pole and a good 2nd place in the race.
But to be fair to Michelin, they have worked so hard over the winter, because just to hark back to last weekend as we see them all streaming down the home straight, the race, as Melandri goes 5th, the race pace last weekend was 67 seconds faster than the last dry race at Jerez, which was actually 2 years ago. 67 seconds advantage in just 24 months is unbelievable.
Absolutely true. And look at this. Look at Colin Edwards and Marco Melandri. They are definitely duffing each other up. Good time. Is that Hayden behind Hopkins?
It certainly is.
He's done some work.
He's done some work, but he's still on the back foot, Julian, because he didn't race here last year, Hayden. He fell off the weekend before whilst out on an enduro bike, trials bike, whatever, in Italy, and he injured himself last year, and he never really got back on form with that injured knee. So he's back to square one here this weekend.
Very much so, Tubby. And Barros fractionally quicker than Gibernau last time round. Only a few hundredths, but quicker nonetheless. That is Rossi and Biaggi in 3rd and 4th you're looking at.
Randy, Gibernau is away with this one for the moment. Do you think that he is going to be able to do the length of race here with that injured shoulder, or do you think it was a bit of a smoke screen even last night?
So you read between the lines.
Absolutely.
Yeah, listen, we've seen pain barriers. Loris Capirossi at Assen one year breaking his hand and getting a podium, the following day. We've seen the incredible things happen in GP racing, mind over matter type things. But, this is a difficult race. Sete setting the pace. He puts a red crash helmet up, but Barros just took it away again. 38.7, fastest lap of the race. Alex Barros closing that gap.
So then, Gibernau leads by 1.7 seconds. This battle for 5th is absolutely boiling hot between Colin Edwards and Marco Melandri. They start lap 6 of 28. And big tall Colin and tiny little pocket rocket Marco Melandri with the Yamaha and the Honda respectively going like the clappers. Lap 7 of 28 about to come to a conclusion here in Portugal. There's the battle for 3rd position between Valentino Rossi and Max Biaggi. Now Rossi is some 2.5 seconds behind Alex Barros in 2nd. And again, 4 seconds back of Sete Gibernau, who is already onto the home straight as these guys are still mid-final corner. A little bit of a slide there from Valentino Rossi, but Max Biaggi in 4th is really got the hammer down. Terrible weekend, but 7 days ago in Spain. But now he means business, Randy.
Yeah, I've got Irv Kanemoto, the crew chief to Max Biaggi. Irv, an incredible ride so far with his number 2 bike.
Yeah, we had a little bit of trouble this morning, but yeah, he got a good start, and I think he should do okay. We're trying to improve the bike each race, but hopefully he'll get there soon.
We'll talk to you later.
Meanwhile, back at the front, Alex Barros is chipping away, taking a 10th out of Sete every lap. The gap was 1.396 over the line. It's down to 1.38 at the first checkpoint. There's Max Biaggi of Kanemoto's rider, refusing to let go of the coattails of Valentino Rossi.
But look at the graphic. Gibernau's advantage just being reduced little by little by Alex Barros. It really is, now 1.36 rather than 1.7 a couple of laps ago. He means business. Biaggi, Randy, is quick at some point on the circuit and not out of the final corner. So crucial, of course, to get up into the slipstream of that Rossi Yamaha to get him on the brakes.
Very much so, Toby. When you take a look at this and watch Valentino through that long right-hander, Max is losing a bit of ground through that long right-hander. I noticed when it was back to another Yamaha-Honda combination, and that was with Colin Edwards and Marco Melandri, something very similar. Through the middle of the corner, the Yamaha's just a little bit quicker, and that's just opening that gap. Now let's see if the Honda can close it up on the brakes in that situation. As they finish another lap, Toby, 138.5 for Sete, a blue crash helmet. That's his personal best, but as you said, being chipped away. He actually held a 110 lead over that, and now Mark Melandri's got a commanding position there ahead of Colin Edwards, John Hopkins, and Nicky Hayden.
Yeah, Marco has about 0.4 and more of a second over Edwards, and Colin might have to start worrying about that other American, John Hopkins, behind him fairly soon.
Look how smooth Max Biaggi is on this bike. You know, he has always been one of the smoothest riders, one of the nicest riders to watch. If you go back through the data, I'd have to say it's something very similar to when we used to watch Eddie Lawson. He was just so smooth, didn't look like he's going fast at all, but yet the lap times were there.
Yeah, Max Biaggi was
White flags out.
White flags out. White flags out. So it's raining some point on the racetrack, and we're going to have a little bit of history here in MotoGP, because the next time they come around to the pit lane, we have got the possibility of riders coming into the pits. They can change their machine, but they must leave not on slick tires. So therefore they're going to leave on intermediates or take a punt and maybe go full wet. They have the opportunity to do it from right here, right now. Let's see.
Battaini is the first guy coming in, Toby, but I know that they don't have another bike to jump on, so they'd have to change wheels if they're going to do anything.
Well, they're going to take a punt on it. No, Battini's got a problem with his bike. I can see it's not a tyre issue. Meanwhile, these guys are coming into the final corner. They have the option to keep going, and just as Sete Gibernau is doing, he doesn't deem it wet enough. He doesn't deem it wet enough to come in yet, but from any point between now and the end of the race, they can come in. Maybe, Julian and Randy, there's something we don't know about a kilometre up the road that race control does.
Well, it's got to be dangerous to the point where, where it's wet enough, raining enough, and in a different section of the racetrack. Right now, we're not picking up any of that on our television cameras. Now, I know some of the cameras out there actually have a shield, like a visor, that covers the camera lenses. So we have to get an onboard shot, if anything.
Yeah, if you had a wide-angle lens on that camera and seen what we were seeing out of the commentary box window, it's like being at Knock Hill, a racetrack in Scotland, Randy, where you can never see the top of the hill because of the cloud. All right. And it's like that looking out of our window here.
Yeah, I'm standing in the pit lane looking straight up at the sky, and it's just this little tiny droplets. But the thing is, it's a free-for-all right now with this white flag situation.
So it's absolutely down to the riders. It's real strange stuff for these guys. They never make pit stops in anger, but they've got to be careful if and as and when they come in. It's a 60 km/h speed limit in pit lane, and it is hardwired. There's no radar, there's no policeman at the end of it. It's hardwired, and if they speed, you get a stop, you get a ride through, and your race is done.
I'm looking straight out of the box of the Kawasaki pit, and they have got mechanics round the bike, the starter ready, and they're looking up pit lane as if they're expecting Shinya in.
Well, all of them are. Everybody has to stand facing forward, because in a moment's notice the rider can duck in. No radial control to the riders from ship to shore out there, as far as I know. I know Shaky had it with Team KR, but I believe he's in.
Yes, he is. I know that Ducati tried it, but they didn't like it. It's a rule that has been available to use for 3 or 4 years. And I tell you what, Randy, it's raining on our commentary box window here. It's raining a little bit more.
It's just not enough right now, Toby, to come in. When I look towards the grandstands and I see in the shadow, I can see the droplets coming down. Again, it's not forming enough. I would assume all these tires, all the bikes underneath have full wet tires, because how are you going to judge without talking on the screen, without talking on the radio to tell your engineers, hey, I need an intermediate? I don't think so. It's either going to be slick or full wet.
So why don't these riders utilize the radio rule? It's a bit of a rant of mine, but I've said it.
Well ranted.
Hey, well, we're only getting into the first time we've ever used this, Toby, so there's going to be a lot of things being discussed afterwards.
Interesting, when Nobuo Aoki used it last year, he used it all through qualifying, but never wanted to use it in the race. So it just found it too much of a distraction.
Okay, we're on board with Shinya Nakano. He is in 11th position, but still leading this Grand Prix is Sete Gibernau. Nakano hard on the brakes, killing the speed of the lone Kawasaki. No Alex Hoffman here at Estoril this weekend. He crashed during a promotional ride in town, and he's broken his wrist. How embarrassing for Alex and the squad. But Nakano going great guns here with the Kawasaki. Back with the leaders. That is Gibernau, and he leads by just over 1.2 seconds, and it's getting pretty murky above our heads as we look out of our commentary position, guys.
And the race pace hasn't changed very much, Toby. 38.7 to 38.7. Rossi 39.2, Max 39.6.
The lead down to under a second, 0.91. Gibernau leads Barros by. There is Max Biaggi, fourth place man.
Just keeping it in the same lap time. So again, still not enough to do any damage to the racetrack in terms of those lap times, in terms of those tires. Now, we talked about this on our commercial break, us three, about, when you start to see this rain spot, it's become psychological, if anything. When the ground starts to get a little bit wet. The thing that's more difficult for Sete is there's no one in front to judge. When Barros gets up behind him, if he closes that gap, he'll start to see lines forming on those tires. When that line starts to form on the tire, he can kind of decide if it's getting more and more wet, and he knows exactly how hard to push it or not pushing it.
Yeah, exactly right, Randy. What Sete hasn't got is a sacrificial lamb in front of him to crash. You know what I mean? It sounds cruel, but it's hard.
Third place man Rossi. Biaggi's got him as a marker, but Rossi has an advantage. Well, best part of a second, 0.8 of a second at the last checkpoint over him. And Rossi pressing on. It's a rostrum place. But Sete Gibernau, if he can fend off Alex Barros, goes to the top of the championship.
Long way to go yet, and remember, Sete Gibernau was leading so brilliantly here in 2002 with the four-stroke Suzuki, and he led literally onto the last lap, and something went wrong with the clutch, and it fell from underneath him at about 40 miles an hour, and poor Sete had to wait another year before he could get back on top of the podium. The leaders complete lap 12, Randy.
Yes, 16 laps to go, Toby. Sete, that last lap, 38.5, blue crash helmet. That is his personal best, and he just took another gap out, so he's got 1.1 second lead over Barros.
And we're looking at that entertaining Melandri Edwards Hopkins dice there. Hopkins just a little bit off the back of them.
He's pushing it right in this area. Now this is a different line when you see the Suzuki. Now they're running on Bridgestone. That is a Bridgestone shot Suzuki. This is another thing that's quite not amusing, but very interesting. These two riders have switched teams in terms of gone from a Yamaha manufacturer to a Honda. That's the shape of Melandri, number 33, and number 5 behind him went from Honda to Yamaha, teammate of Valentino.
Swap bikes, guys. Yeah, John Hopkins, the next man along in this group, of course, the leading Bridgestone runner at the moment.
Now, the first two were the only two in the 38s, Toby and Julian. Then you go to 39.6, more than a second a lap over Valentino. What Sete did that last lap, and he go through the chicane one more time.
We haven't seen much of Carlos Checa, who started on the front row from 3rd position. He's in 8th position, struggling a little. Bayliss, who had an enormous crash on Friday morning, teammate to the guy we're looking at, Barros. Bayliss up to 9th, sorry, Checa 8th, my apologies. Bayliss 9th. Hayden now back to 10th position. Caparossi, but really struggling with that injured foot. He can barely walk, let alone ride a motorcycle. But it just puts into perspective the guy that we are riding with, Sete Gibernau, who really did injure his shoulder last weekend with the coming together with Valentino Rossi. But took such a pain-killing injection before qualifying yesterday, Julian. He could barely feel it. Fair play to Sete, fair play.
Yeah, he said not his normally preferred tactic. And Sete's opened the lead up to 1.9 seconds, Randy.
Yes, 39.6. Now he's backed it off a full second, so it must be raining a little bit, spotting a little bit in some part of this racetrack. I'm in the Repsol Honda garage. Everybody else doing in the 40s.
Just over 13 laps remaining here in Portugal. This is the second round of MotoGP 2005, and the kid who was in the gravel on the last corner of the last race is now leading it here today. Spaniard Sete Gibernau with his Honda has got an advantage ahead of Alex Barros by just 1.1 seconds. His advantage is decreasing because the yellow bike in that second place by Barros is reeling in Gibernau. We've just gone beyond about the halfway point, Julian. And is this Barros time?
Well, it was down to under a second, then it went up to 1.9, down to 1.6, down to 1.3, and now it's down to 1.2. So there was a moment there where I'm assuming Barros had a little tiny error that lost him the best part of half a second, and he's clawed it back.
Bit of an interesting note, guys. I'm still in front of the Repsol Honda garage, and I just saw them taking the rear wheel out of Max Biaggi's bike. I asked them what they were doing, and what they've changed is they went from a hard rain tire to a softer one now that it's half distance. When the race, you know, the possibility of it raining from the beginning, if you're going to run with a rain tire, you've got to kind of go with a harder compound. They've changed it now.
Well, if of course it rains, you know, it's just less laps, isn't there? So a soft should last. Thank you for that, Randy. Good point. I remind you that if it does rain now, because we've had permission from race control, the riders have, they have the possibility of coming into the pits, changing machines, but they have to leave on a bike with a different type of tyre, i.e. non-slick, because at the moment everybody is on slicks.
This is the battle for 7th and 8th we're looking at, Randy. Checker has just gone past Hopkins for the award of top Bridgestone runner.
Right, he had a 39.9, Carlos Checker. John, for some reason, maybe made a mistake, 41.4. I hope there is nothing going wrong there. Nicky Hayden behind him, 40.0, and then we've got Bayless at 39.9.
Let us remind ourselves about Carlos Checker. He qualified on the front row. He dislocated his left shoulder, what was it, a month ago? Fair play to the guy. And he's romping around this racetrack. And it's just a shame that Jerez didn't happen for Carlos Checker. But it's salvaging something this weekend.
Well, that shoulder was pretty awful.
Well, he's doing similar lap times to Marco Melandri and Colin Edwards, who are running respectively in 5th and 6th place. And look at this battle now closing back up. Valentino opened a gap there for a while, but Max is now closing it up.
This is the battle for 3rd and 4th position. Valentino Rossi with Max Biaggi behind him on the orange Repsol Honda. Valentino on the blue Yamaha. The others are way down the home straight already. Max struggles to... No, Gibernau's down! Sete Gibernau crashes out of the Portuguese Grand Prix, and it's going to be a nil pointer. The mechanics cannot believe it. Now, has he hit rain?
It's raining, Toby. It's raining in turn 1.
I told you he had no sacrificial lamb in front of him. He can't tell if it's raining into a corner, and poor Sete Gibernau has crashed. Not a chance! Not a chance for poor Sete into turn 1. That thing went way early, Randy. Oh, Sete falls out of the race, and now, if it's raining, of course, let's think about it. The others have still got to wobble.
It's raining, Toby.
They've got to wobble round and get back to the pit.
And now it's not a little bit more than a drizzle, a little bit heavier in the drizzle time.
What do? Do you stay out there? Would you lose the 30 or 40 seconds it'll take you to come into pit lane and change bikes?
You've got to wobble round.
You're gonna wobble.
You've got to wobble. You can't come into the pits because
there's no way with a rain setup that you could go as fast with these slick tires right now. The thing is, you just got to keep the heat in them.
John's down.
Another one.
Hopkins has crashed as well.
This is where we get into the difficult situation. You see the rain coming down where he's walking, whatever that is on the racetrack. Now, very, very difficult for Alex Barros being the leader of this race.
This is where the teams need the radios, isn't it? Because they could say, hey, call it. But they haven't got the radio contact. They had the choice to have it, but they chose not to take it. And the only method of communication is a pit board. 11 laps to go, says the Camel Honda crew, for Alex Barros, whose lead is going to be enormous. enormous ahead of Valentino Rossi, about 9 seconds or so. Rossi second, Max Biaggi in third position. They will have seen Gibernau in the gravel at this corner last time.
There's a rain on our camera. You can definitely see, and very, very easy to lose the front end as these two guys battling it out still now for fourth and fifth.
Hopkins went down in the second sector of the lap, so it was, I suspect, the slow left-hander. Turn 4. Now then, what does Biaggi do? Does he sit there behind Rossi and pounce on the last lap? This is Alex Barros's lead with Vigil on there.
It's called survival.
Yeah.
It's called survival. I mean, and you know the condition changes very quickly, because if it stops, which it's not doing, it's just coming down to slight drizzle. But if it stops, it goes back to complete, 1 minute 38 lap times again. So it depends on the rider. The control of that throttle makes a big difference.
Well, we had a similar nightmare scenario in Mugello last year. That was a 2-part race, an 8-lap dash for the cash, with some much wetter conditions into turn 1, but nobody crashed then.
Nobody crashed in that, as you say, that sprint. Very true, Toby. They all started on slicks for that race, I think, bar the WCM or whatever. Now, Max Biaggi, with very much a guide to look at in front of him, Valentino Rossi. This is the dice, I'll remind you now. Valentino sliding for second and third, Randy.
Valentino's bike's just being started. I'm sitting in the pit lane, front rain, rear rain tire. They're warming that bike up because the rain's starting to fall a little bit heavier.
It certainly is. I look over your head, Randy, and I can see that the clouds are getting lower and lower. Rossi opting not to pit, nor Max Biaggi. They've got another 2.5 miles to complete before they have the option of coming in. This is the battle for second and third position, the arch rivalry of recent years between Rossi and Max Biaggi. Understatement of the year award going to me.
Yes, I think so, Toby. Before the handbags job with Sete, it was, and here is what Randy was talking about. Number 46, the second bike with the tyre warmers on. I think I can hear it ticking over as well, warming up.
The Repsol Honda of Max Biaggi is getting warmed up. These two bikes are on screen right now.
Lap times down in the 1:41s for Alex Barros. 1:41.8. Rossi and Biaggi doing 1:41.2 and 1:41 respectively.
The difficulty, 1:41s, you back out of it and you feel like you're going so slow when you're doing nearly 3 seconds a lap slower going around. Every camera starting to pick up those rain spots.
So they're only going 2 seconds slower, gentlemen, than the best race time of 12 months ago. Puts it into perspective.
But that feels so much not on the case.
I agree. But it's only 2 seconds.
I know, yes. Yeah. It's a contradiction in terms, isn't it? It's only 2 seconds, but the effort needed. It's like any sport. Those last couple of percent of achievement take massive, massive investment in effort.
It's probably harder to ride, actually, 2 seconds a lap slower in these conditions, of course, than an absolutely dry track, Randy.
Very much so, Toby. Again, for me, it's starting to stop here. It's almost going away. So, the problem is 3 or 4 kilometers where the racetrack is down in on the other side over there where the chicane is. 3 kilometers probably where you're sitting. Changeable weather always.
Yeah. The boys who are having nightmares are the 125 lads who are out after this. Yeah. They really are twitching.
But they just race. I mean, they just race. Sete Gibernau, fortunately, back on his feet and back into the garage. And you better wait to hear the tirade from Sete Gibernau, because at the moment, all other things being equal, he has been the loser of the new rules. But I don't think it was wet enough for a race to be stopped anyway.
Oh, no.
The battle continues here at Estoril with 8.5 laps to go. This is the dice for 4th and 5th position between number 33, Marco Melandri, and Big Red number 5, Colin Edwards. Leading is still Barros. He's got 7.5 seconds ahead of Rossi, who's got nothing ahead of Max Biaggi. Biaggi then 5 seconds ahead of this battle that we're watching here, Randy.
Yes, I was just going to say, at the end of that back straight there, you can see both rear wheels of both of these machines being lifted up into the air with that much hard braking, even with these conditions, and Colin's going to take a look.
That's going to be 4th position, clean pass.
Where have we seen a Gowaz and a movie star Honda that close before?
You're wicked, you are. You're wicked. I'm going to keep an eye on a big black cloud that's over our heads in the distance. We are in quite a high commentary position here at the back, at the top of one of the grandstands. So let's keep our fingers crossed, Julian, for the last 8 laps. Barros leads.
Oh, we have Troy on the floor. Troy Bayliss on the floor. Done so much good work to get up to 7th place. Oh dear. These are the worst of all conditions, aren't they?
Give you an idea, Barros' last lap was a 40.3, and here's the crash that's going into the chicane. So that's a very strange part of the racetrack where he actually crashed. We didn't really pick it up early enough to determine what happened there. But Barros leading this race, 40.3. Valentino, 39.5. Max Biaggi, 39.7.
So we're looking at Troy Bayliss trying to be put back into the race, crashing out of that 7th position. What a brilliant run he had to get there. Look at the spots on the lens of the camera. You can just see a few of them against a darker background. Now he's coming up to lap Shaky Byrne. Shaky Byrne had a problem on the warm-up lap, and he started the race from the pit lane. Barros going through. Barros counting those laps down.
Where's that rain cloud out, Toby? You see anything coming still?
It's dead square ahead of us, so it's absolutely dead square behind the pits, Randy.
And that's the direction, according to the flags down in the paddock, that the weather is coming from. So there could be something naughty on the way, but we might just get away with it. Or Alex Barros there might just get away with it with a 7-second lead over Valentino Rossi. He's worked for this all weekend, Alex Barros. He has been the dominant force of the weekend. A little bit of a slide there, doesn't slow him down, pins the throttle, pops the front wheel up, and over the line comes Alex Barros in 1 minute 39.7, Randy.
Yes, very much still in control of this race as Valentino crosses the line with a 40.0, Max 39.8. Max closing the gap by 0.2 there. There it is on screen.
Well, this is this battle for 2nd and 3rd. We did have Sete Gibernau leading this race. He's crashed out a few laps ago. And from a championship standpoint, even at round 2 of 17, it's going to take a long time for Gibernau to get back, even within sight of Rossi, all other things being equal, with regards to the championship. He's on the back foot from now, isn't he?
That's exactly what the opposition didn't want, Toby. Playing catch-up to Valentino Rossi is really, really what you don't need. Here's Marco Melandri, 5th place behind Colin Edwards at the moment. I think for the entertainment value, Edwards and Melandri are far and away the winners so far this weekend. Have been at it with baseball bats on each other since the lights went green.
Colin Edwards, Colin Edwards in 4th place was at 39.7, very similar to what the leader's doing right now with a 39.7. Boy, he's really opened that gap over Marco there.
He sure has, and if Marco's not careful, Carlos Checa is going to be taking that 5th position away from Marco Melandri. I rather fancy that the battle between Edwards and Melandri has been quite fun. I'm sure that they've been actually laughing underneath their crash helmets. I'm sure that you did that a couple of times, Randy, with a passing manoeuvre, trying to dispose of somebody ahead of you and maybe making a little mistake, or the other person making a little mistake all race long, and probably quite amusing.
Yes, it really is a fun battle when you can, be that close and be that safe with a fellow competitor. As we see, this guy's just crossing the line. Let me tell you, the lap times 40.3 to Alex Barros, 6.5-second lead over Valentino Rossi. And then you've got a 39.7, 39.5. Max seems to take it out just a little bit more as we see Colin Edwards going through turn 1.
I'll tell you what, I'm no Michael Fish, but it's going to properly rain in a minute. The clouds that we can see off screen, out of our commentary box window, are getting closer and closer. And it looks more than mist to me. It looks like a sheet of not solid rain, but more than a mist, more than a drizzle.
Yes, I think you're right. It's just a question of when it arrives. There is the leader, 6.5 seconds in front of the opposition. I'm going to have a quick shout for Robbie Rolfo, I think. Up to 11th place on last year's Ducati at the Dantine team. In front of Roberts, in front of Elias. Not bad. Dunlop tyres as well, hooray. Cheer for the fort.
In Brum, just alongside the M6, indeed, yes. Alex Barros leads Valentino Rossi. Rossi going through the shot there, as Julian said, 6.5 ahead is Barros. We've got 5 laps to go when they cross the line in a few seconds' time. Is Biaggi playing safe, or is Biaggi going to try and get that gap back to Valentino Rossi? Here is 5th, Melandri.
Yes, he's really lost to Colin Edwards in the past couple of laps, hasn't he? 2.9 seconds. Oh, is he opening the visor to try and get some draft through it? I rather think so. Maybe he's having the misting problems that Danny Pedrosa was talking about. That would explain that sudden loss of pace.
There it is. That's got to be rain. That's got to be rain. I told you, and the umbrellas are going up in front of us. I told you it was going to rain. It's coming in from over the way, and we've got 4 3/4 laps to go, and we've completely turned this race on its head. Look at the pace from Alex. I'm going to get a job at the Met Office. Look at the rain. It's pouring down. And Rossi has got to wobble around, and Edwards is down.
Exactly, he's in the weather as well.
Now you've got to play it really close. It's raining there, Tony. Look at how hard it's raining. Look at how hard it's raining.
Randy, is this change bike time?
Well, let me tell you something. I'm in the pit lane right now, and I can tell you it's going to be frantic. There is some big raindrops out there. At what part of the racetrack did Colin Edwards crash? As you see Valentino taking a look over his shoulder, see where Max is.
Turn 4, turn 5, Randy.
Okay, in that section, Barros does not know. There's a replay.
Rossi losing the front big time. Just as he did at Jerez in the wet.
Turn 1, Tubby. You can just see a haze in that corner right now for sure. Lots of rain. Very, very difficult for Barros.
Edwards going down in turn 1, by the way. That's a replay of him.
That seems to be the favourite.
So then, they have a choice of coming in and changing machines. But, Randy, when they come round in a moment, there's only 4 laps to go, and it is a speed limit in pit lane that'll lose you a lot of time.
You're not going to get in and out without losing something between 30 and probably more than 40 seconds.
I don't think, well, these guys are going to be in grave difficulty going into turn 1 as they get ready to complete another lap.
Barros leads, his advantage goes over the line. There you have the view. He's got just 4 laps to go, 10 miles, the longest 10 miles of his life. Ross's disadvantage to Barros is 6.3. Max is right with him, but look, they're teetering. It's as if they're on ice.
It's a 1 minute 46 or 47 lap time all of a sudden.
And
look at how ginger he is going through turn 2 there, Toby. This is the next section where Valentino pushed the front end down this hill.
And just to remind those of you watching at home who've watched races in the past, we're not going to stop the race. We are going to go all the way to the finish. Alex Barros steams down the back section with 3.5 laps to go. His advantage 6 seconds ahead of Valentino Rossi. Poor Barros's heart must be doing skips and jumps like a trapeze artist as he's got the race so close in front of his visor, but yet so far.
Colin Edwards got back on and got over the line in 6th place, Randy.
Yes, as we see these guys coming through, getting ready to get into the section where the chicane is. Alex Barros leading, and it looks like this part of the racetrack still quite good. Max Biaggi closing up the gap, and again, that's easy to do when you got someone to judge in front of you, closing the gap through this area. Now you see periodically a yellow flag out there with the red stripes in it. That is an oil flag. Of course, there is no oil. That's just warning the riders that this area of the racetrack is a bit more wet than others.
A slippery surface flag for the red and yellow. Now it looks to be pretty dry there, but there's more raindrops falling on our commentary box window. We are positioned in the middle of the home straight. Alex Barros coming down that section now, 3 laps to go, 7.5 miles, ticking away the mileage, ticking away the kilometers. He's early on the brakes into turn 1, and that tarmac is a lot darker there, isn't it? Gingerly.
It's quite amusing, Tubby. It's almost like a tennis match in here because the engineers, mechanics, the ones that are not on the pit wall, the ones that are protecting them, standing around the bikes, getting them ready, just in case their riders come in, are coming out of the garage because there's a possibility that somebody might duck in to try to get a bike, and then they go back into the garage to see the TV cameras.
But there's only 3 laps to go, and Julian's right. The loss of time by coming in will be negated because we haven't got enough laps left to get an advantage with another tyre.
The post-race quotes are going to be interesting, whether the riders decide they don't like this either.
The ones on the podium are going to like it, aren't they? There's only one bloke who ain't going to like it.
Not necessarily, Toby. They might come in here and say, hey, that's way too dangerous to try to do that. But again, it's the same for everybody. The throttle unfortunately turns both ways for every rider. Said they could have backed it down, but he didn't. And again, he was the first guy to run into that corner where the rain was hitting.
Yeah, that's, as Toby had said, that is the trouble the leader has.
Yes.
Just you're the first to hit it.
Yeah, you have nobody to judge off. Look at how ginger they are going through this extra area of the racetrack. This is the chicane.
Oh, it's raining now.
Just keeping that gap open.
Well, we're down to 1 minute 49 lap times.
It's really raining on the home straight again.
10 seconds is an incredible difference when you're trying to ride as they get ready to go through this part of the racetrack. This is really slippery. We've seen numerous crashes in that left-hander, Toby, and this is this long right coming onto the front straight. 2 laps to go.
Your heart must be in your mouth. It must be so terrifying.
How do you know?
No, I'm asking you. It must be terrifying.
My heart is in my mouth and I'm not out there.
2 more laps to go for the Brazilian Alex Barros. His advantage 5.5 seconds. Oh, Valentino will be thinking of the points, but likewise, I don't think he'd be over-bothered if Max gets ahead of him, but Valentino must get the points. Barros must get the win. That's what he'll be thinking.
And there's a good battle right here with Marco Melandri in 4th place. Carlos Checa trying to close that gap, and that's Nicky Hayden, I believe, just behind him.
No, it looks like Shane Byrne on the KTM Roberts bike, Randy. Yeah, by the way, Bayliss fans, he's got back on as well, and he's in the points in 12th. Dear me, this racetrack does this to you, doesn't it?
Why don't you give it a rundown to the top 15 in points, Toby?
Barros leads from Rossi 2nd, 3rd Biaggi, 4th Melandri, 5th is the seemingly invisible Carlos Checa ahead of the remounted Edwards, Hayden 7th, Nakano in 8th, Caparossi 9, Chaus 10, Bayliss back on in 11th, Rolfo 12, Elias 13, Kenny Roberts in 14, James Ellison in 15, going to score a point, Shaky Byrne in 16th position, admittedly laps down after the problems early on in the race that saw him start from pit lane, but could score a point if it all went Pete Tong for another rider.
Got to keep going, and as Randy said, it's valuable testing time anyway. Alex Barros, 1 minute 48.4 last time round, fractionally, well, significantly faster than previous, but by the standards of race pace, pussyfooting.
Coming out of the final corner to start the last lap does Alex Barros, the Brazilian bullet from Sao Paulo. Previously, in years past, he's had his big mate Rubens Barrichello to support him here trackside at Estoril. What a shame that Rubens is not here today, but I'm sure he's watching on the television. I know that he keeps in touch with our coverage, but the Brazilian, the fellow Paulista, Barros, powering down to the 2nd corner. He's so ginger, there's a bit of a puddle there, it looks like. Keep off the white line. Oh, a bit of a wobble there. Team boss Cito Pons will be having kittens. Up through the section, the right-hander, up the hill he goes. This is real-time telemetry, and as you can see, we've got no revs there because they're just not registering. It should be a green line underneath.
Yeah, you just don't want any revs in these conditions. You'll spin it. So Alex Barros looks like, if there's any justice in the world, he is going to take Honda's first win of the season.
Careful! He had a bobble.
Here's the incident on the white paint. Wow.
Oy, oy, oy.
Cito's heart just went, you talk about heart in the mouth.
And of course, Randy on a bike, that'll feel like you're at 90 degrees to the racetrack.
Yes, very much so. And he's tiptoeing now, and Valentino's making a little bit more of a charge.
He's taken a second off in the last half a lap as Valentino Rossi, but he's still 3 seconds back. This is the battle with Marco Melandri and Carlos Checa for 4th position, and Checa's going to take it. Checa's going to go through, but why did he lose his 4th position momentarily? Marco Melandri goes back into 4th. Meanwhile, Alex Barros, deservedly in my book, is going to win the Portuguese Grand Prix. What a shame that we're not in Brazil here this weekend as the initial Dorna calendar said that we would be. That is a wheelie that he deserves every single moment of. What a nice guy.